Okay, I'm going to discuss about this stuff. Okay. Number one is we're going to create APIs. Okay, APIs using the FastAPI framework. Okay. Second is we're going to connect FastAPI with MySQL for your database. Okay. And then we're going to connect our mobile app to FastAPI or to our API in general. Okay. Yan. Hopefully, we will be able to cover those three things today. And then up next to that will be authentication. When we say authentication, the user in your app is able to log in and access protected screens in your mobile app, like that. And we are going also to learn how to better present those data in our mobile application. Those are the things that we're going to discuss. And I think, yeah, we really need to have an internet to do this. But I have it already here naman. Pero I'm just going to show you the things na kailangan nyong gawin. So you can do the project. So you can follow later on. Kasi wala tayong internet ngayon. So what we will do is first we're going to open our code editor. VS Code. So we have here a blank workspace. Second thing is we're going to create a folder. Okay? So we click open folder. You create a empty folder wherever you like it. I'm just going to place it here. I'm going to create API. I'm just going to name it API or whatever the name of your project. You can call it Project X API. So there's no required naming convention, but just make it descriptive. Okay, just make it descriptive. Okay, you create the folder, and the second thing that you're going to do, I'm just going to create a blank file here so I can place all the stuff that we're going to do. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to initialize an API project. I think I introduced this to you already before, but I am not confident enough with my explanation. Hence, I'm not confident that you get my discussion before. So I'm repeating it. So the point here is we're going to create API. Now, what is API? Okay, API. Who knows what does API stands for? Access point integration. API is application programming interface. Okay? Application programming interface is a piece of software that acts as a middleman between two software that cannot connect directly. For example, a sample of application, you have your Flutter app. Okay? And then on the end, that has to connect to, we have the database server. There is no available. This is basically your front end, and this is your back end. There is no way that these two pieces of software or two pieces of application can connect together directly. So we need a middleman. You call that an API. Okay? Which is another programming language. So this uses another programming language. This uses another programming language. In the database layer, it's basically using a language, but it's not a programming language. You call that the SQL. So we use SQL to interact. From API, we use SQL to interact with the database server. Okay, if I'm going to show you an illustration, let me just bring out MS Paint to give you an illustration. I do not remember if I show you this before. Okay, here is the Flutter app, which is your mobile application. Okay, and then it needs the service of a database. Sir, why not we just store the data in the phone? Well, that would just be fine, but if your phone or if your mobile requires interconnectivity with other users, then that would not be possible. You need a centralized database. Hence, we need a database server. So this will be database or database server. Now, as we have said it, there is no possible way that we can connect Flutter and the database, which is remote, to it directly. That's why we are going to need a middleman. You call it an API. Okay? The term to that is API or Application Programming Interface. So what it will do, we have there a request. So Flutter will make a request to the database through the API. Then the API will query the database using SQL. The database will return the data from it going back to the API. And then API can further format whatever. It can format, it can sanitize, it can omit the things that the logic doesn't want to be exposed to the client. And then after that is going to give the data to the Flutter app, which is the client. That's basically the workflow. Do you get it? Now, in order to have this, we will need some programming language to build that. We can use Java, we can use C#. Are you done with C#? We can also use JavaScript. And what we are using is Python. You can write any API with whatever language there is. You can also use Go language. Have you encountered Go language? Rust and many others. But one of the quickest way or easiest language to learn is the Python. So we're just going to use Python. And we're going to use a framework in the Python ecosystem. You call that FastAPI. And there are other you don't need to get my approval. Okay? Ayan. In Python, there are alternatives. You can use Flask, or you can also use Django, which is heavier. Si FastAPI is nasa gitna lang siya, and it's easy to learn. So before we proceed, we're going to set up our environment. How to set up our environment? Here is the step. Okay, I'm just going to type them here. I want you to listen, guys. I'm going to take time to explain this. I know it's so easy to have ChatGPT generate code for you. Okay? It's so easy. But if you do not get it, you don't know the fundamental behind it, it's so hard for you to build, it's so hard for you to expand the application because you do not get it. And it's very possible for you to get stuck in error loop because you did not get it. Now for this foundational, I'm going to take time to explain it to you, so later on you are able to build yourself, and then when ChatGPT will give you codes, you are able to grasp it. Okay, you're able to tweak it according to your preference or according to your logic, according to your thinking. Okay, now your generation, guys, with regards to learning programming, it's very challenging in the sense that there's a great tendency for you to get lame and too dependent on AI. No wonder why it would just be easy someday to replace human, because human has delegated all of the tasks, even thinking, to artificial intelligence. Guys, help counter that. Do not just depend on ChatGPT. Still use your mind. Just use ChatGPT to what do you call this? You just use ChatGPT to improve your workflow, but never to replace you or to not give you the opportunity to think. You still have to think. Okay? Do not get everything from ChatGPT. Okay? Now next, use it as a learning tool. Okay? Use it as a learning tool. Now the step is, we're going to create, the step will be like this one. Create a virtual. To set up our API, okay? Let me just give the title. Using FastAPI, number one is create a virtual environment. But this is basically optional. But I suggest that you do this so you keep track of a uniform Python version when you wrote your application. Okay? Yeah, I already mentioned it. As I said it a while ago, you can use so many other languages that you can use. You can even use Tagalog if you like. You don't want to believe it? There's already a Tagalog programming language. Yeah, I'm not joking. You discover it. I don't know the name, but there is. I encountered one time. Okay, create a virtual environment for Python. The purpose of this is you just use a uniform version of Python, because there's a tendency that your code may break if you change or if you switch to different version of Python later on. Okay, how to do that? To do that, in the terminal, you just have to run Python CLS Python -m vnv. Okay, that's the command. And then just nominate a name for the virtual environment. You can just name it as VANV. It doesn't matter. But that's the commonly used name for it. So this is the command to create the virtual environment. You use that, and then it accepts an option, okay, or parameter, which is the name. You just press enter like that. It's going to create a folder like this, which contains the configuration of this environment, including the version of Python that you are using for this specific project. But this is optional. But the purpose of this is when you move to different computer or working space, you can set which environment or which version of Python that you want your program to run on, and avoid what do you call this, problem later on, which can happen when you are switching Python version. Okay, so the second thing is you have to activate it. To activate it, you just have to run VNV. There's a script there that is found in the script, and then you call it activate.bat. This is for, what do you call this, Windows. Press enter. It's already activated. And then second, you're going to install some libraries for FastAPI. The first one is FastAPI, and then we're going to use a server for it. What is used to serve a FastAPI APIs is the UVcorn. So to install these two, you just use the pip install like that. You're going to press enter in there. It's going to download those dependencies, and it's going to create a folder here, okay, to store those libraries. What are those? Those dependencies slash libraries are ready-made codes by other developer that they made it public and available for you to not start from scratch or not to create your own. So since we're going to create FastAPI API, we just have to download them into this project. I know this is not your first time to install dependencies. Okay? So let me just continue this. And then 3, install FastAPI and also UVcorn. UVcorn is the name of the server. Now I have a what do you call this? Let me just swap it to my another environment. I cannot install it right now because I don't have the internet, but I have a working. I'm just going to replicate it. Wait. Just going to replicate that one and open it here and do the task in there. Let me close this one. Give me a minute, guys. Okay, so I have it here. Waiting ko lang kasi pinost ko yung recording kanina. Okay, we have it here. All of the dependencies are already downloaded. So basically, this is the directory structure. So the VENV there is the virtual environment that we created using the python-m venv command. Okay, the thing I showed you a while ago. And then I created a folder there. Let me just I'm just going to delete this for now because that should not be automatically be created. It's only created when we run the application. Okay, so I created a subdirectory called app. Okay, it's going to contain all our Python. Like I'm just going to create main.py. Py is the what do you call this? File extension for Python. And then I also created a git ignore here. The purpose of this git ignore, it contains all the files and folders that you do not want to be added in the Git repository. And it's basically you are going to exclude this. Okay, we're going to create a .env later on. .env start short for environment variable environment. It contains variables that we're going to use in our program, including sensitive data. So we don't want it to be published in the GitHub because GitHub in most cases is public. So we have to not include them in the GitHub. So when you go to different workspace, you have to recreate those variables in the new working space. Miss Domingo, can you just do that some other time? Okay. Otherwise, I'm going to make you draw the code. Okay. Okay. And then we don't have to also include the VNV and also the PyCache, which is auto created. That PyCache, it's basically generated inside the app folder. So let me just add it like that. Save that one. So these are just the basic setting that you have to have in creating a Python app using the FastAPI. Now in the main.py, let us create an app that is used for API. So to do that, we're going to import something. from the FastAPI library, I'm going to import the FastAPI class. Okay. I'm going also, yeah, that's just it. I'm just going to import that. And then we're going to create an object for FastAPI by calling the constructor of FastAPI. Okay. Then this time, let me just create an endpoint by using this app at symbol app.get and then slash. Okay. I'm going to create a function that handles that. I'm just going to name it as root or index, whatever. I can name it basically as index if you like it. And then this is just going to return an object with this. It's basically a dictionary. Ang data type ng curly brace kay kuan ay dictionary, right? Can you remember that? DSA? Sinong DSA nyo? Message is, the value of that is, welcome to FastAPI. Let me run this one. To run this one, you open the terminal. Okay. You're going to use, remember the UVcorn that I asked you to install with it? You're going to use it as a command using UVcorn. And then, you specify the main app for the UVcorn. You specify the main app of your FastAPI application, which is basically located in app, okay, dot main, which is this main file there. This will be my main app, okay, and I want it to auto reload when I make changes by using the flag reload. Like this one, app.main here points to this file, app.main, okay, and then the app there is basically, I'm pointing that this app.main here contains the FastAPI. It contains the FastAPI object that's going to be run or executed by UVcorn, which is a server that serves the FastAPI application. I'm going to press enter. Going to do that. Now I can now visit this one. Okay, follow the link, and it's going to open your browser and give you a JSON format. This is a JSON data. Okay, so I'm going to you can do it like this one. Okay, I'm going to discuss what is JSON, but this is the address of this is the first route or path of the API that we have created. So when we will be in our Flutter, we're going to make requests to that address. So this is basically an address or a URL, okay, that your mobile application will connect to get a data. When you run that, it's going to retrieve the data that contains hello world. Now this is a JSON object. I'm going to discuss to you what is JSON object. What do you mean by JSON? JSON. Sir, pangalan ng uncle ko yan. Meron bang nagngangalang ang uncle niya dito ay Jason? Let me just put it here. And create an object of FastAPI. Where did we create a FastAPI in our code? This one. We have created, this is how you create an object. What what language did you use in your object-oriented programming? Java. Okay? But in Python, it's in Java you do it class name, the name of the object, and then you use the new keyword, right? But in Python, it's so simple. You don't have to specify the data type. As we know it, Python is not strongly typed. And when you declare a variable or an object reference, it doesn't require you to specify the data type, right? That's Python. And you don't also need to use the new. This is similar to Flutter or Dart, but the difference is Dart just requires semicolon, unlike Python. Ganyan din kay Kwan. Okay? Okay, so this is the home route. You call it home route. So when you visit... Oy, makinig. Nadidistract ako sa mga nagchichit-chat dyan. Okay? Mga yung makinig, please. Be sensitive naman sa mga classmate nyo na gustong matuto. Huwag nyo silang idamay pag ayaw nyo matuto. Okay? Okay ba? Okay? Gusto nilang matuto eh. Okay, so this is the home route. This is basically the first or the root of our address. When UVcorn serve our application, it's going to create a service which you can visit it via a browser, or you can point to in your client. It could be the mobile app. So this is the address of it. When you click that, it's going to open the browser and visit that link. It's basically a link. Now, the home route or the route is identified with the /. It specifies, or it means it's the home route. It's the root route. Kapag root, yan yung starting point. Okay? Like this one, or you don't even have to place it there. Now, this 8000 here is the default port that UVcorn served the application. Now, in our computer, we can install server, right? We have the database server. We have web server, and so on and so forth. Now, those server, typically, they serve anything. They can serve files, program, applications within a, or in a specific route. Specific port. Servers uses port to serve whatever that server is serving. Now, in our application, UVcorn, it serves at port 8000 by default, but you can tweak that out. You can basically use the port 80, which is the default port for any applications, by using the using this. I think this is the syntax. You just have to stop this by pressing Ctrl+C, and then you specify the port. You make it say 80 if that's available. It's already 80. 80 is the default. As you can see, I don't have to specify the port because the default is 80. If I'm going to press enter, it will just work fine. Okay? Or if you have to put it, it will just be fine. So, this is the IP, and then this is the port the server is serving on. What is port? It works like seaport. What can you find in seaport? Dun sa daong, sa pier. It is the only place that ships can park, right? Can park and can start the journey from. Okay? In computer, ports are basically a starting point, or it's a source point where the computer can serve any type of service. What it is serving, it is a server for JSON data. How did I know that it is a JSON data? When you visited it, it's giving you a JSON data. I'm going to discuss JSON in a while. Now, I set the port to 80, which is the default of any URL address in the internet. For example, if I will go to google.com, there's so many things that you can learn here. Google.com and then port 80. Look at that. The 80 will disappear because default is 80. In other words, when it is default, you don't have to explicitly specify it. It means as it is. When you press enter, it's just going to go to google.com. Wala tayong internet that will not be loaded. Okay? But same as here. Now, another term or another way we can refer to 127.0.0.1, Jeric, is localhost. Sige ka, Jeric, hindi kita ipapasa sa software, tinutulugan mo ako. May raros na naman na hindi kita ipapasa. Finals na, pwede ka pang bumagsak. Sumulit na ulit. Ulitin mo ulit ang part of death. Sige ka. Magka 10 years ka sa Lorma. Nakahawak na ako ng code. Nandito ka pa lang. Sige, hindi ka mag-ayos. Sige ka. Sige, mark my word. I'm gonna drop you in my class. Okay? Okay, presenter. Localhost is also another way we can refer to 127.0.0.1. 127.0.1, you call it, let me create another note here. 127.0.0.1 is the IP address to the local server. Okay? What is IP? IP is an address that is used to connect to a device in the network. Okay? When you visit facebook.com, you can visit it because of an IP. Facebook.com is a domain name. Has it been discussed to you, those terms? IP address, domain name, and so on and so forth? Which subject? General knowledge, but it's not basically taught in the school. Okay, Facebook.com is a domain. Behind it is an IP address that identify the address of the server. When you order something from the internet and that order reach your house, how? Because of your address, right? When you reach a server, you can reach it because of an address. Now we have the domain name, DNS, domain name system. It's a database that lists all domain names like facebook.com, google.com, blah, blah, blah.com. Okay? And it is registered there, the IP address of the server, which that application bearing that domain name is served. So, now, for 127.0.1, it is just a general IP address that refer to this. Why? My server is running on the same computer. Okay? An alias to that is called localhost. It's just the same thing. It's like localhost is a domain name that identifies that address. The analogy is this. Google.com is to x.x.x.x. Why I said x? Because I do not know the exact IP address of Google. It's basically a number, 4 numbers separated by dot. That's IP address, IP version 4 address. Now, localhost is to google.com as 127.0.0.1 is to the x.x.x.x IP of the google.com. You can just type that on the screen. Type that on the screen. Type that on the URL address. This is the URL address bar. And you are able to access the resource, the remote resource, whatever it is. It could be a picture. It could be a data in the form of JSON. This is a JSON data that is meaningful to the requester or to the client. Okay? And sometimes it is an HTML, meaning it's a web app that is being rendered with colors, design, a layout, and so on and so forth. Now, we also have port. That port number is synonymous to the port at sea, where it is the only location where ship can park or they can start the journey from a specific location. They cannot just go in any specific place and make that a landing place, especially for big ships. In the computer, port are basically a location. In our computer, there are so many ports. Basically, you begin from 1. I don't know the max number that you can use to specify the port. But you can use port 1, port 2, port 80, port 8000, which is default, blah, 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 blah. It's just a number identifying the port in the computer which the server runs on. Okay? And you do that, the complete address will be IP port. Okay? Or domain port. Okay? Like localhost at 8000. And then slash, okay, what followed that address will be called routes or path. Okay? Path or routes. Okay? Or another term will be endpoint. It's a specific location in your application which client can reach and get any type of data. Now let's demonstrate that further. I'm going to create another. For example, I have here a list of things here. Okay, a list of things. Say, what do you want? Fruits. Okay, let's have fruits here. Okay, what data structure is this? It's a list in Python. It's a list, right? But it's synonymous to array in other programming language. Now it's blank. Now let's create an endpoint that accepts new item for it. Okay. We begin with app. When you begin with @app, that's basically an annotation that is interpreted by the FastAPI. When we do that, which is basically somehow pertains to this, it's connected to that. Say, let's create an endpoint that accepts a data. Now, for requesting in the internet, it could be this way. You make a request that has a payload. What is a payload? Where did you hear the term payload? Salary? Pay? Because of pay? Is it? Trabaho? Payload is basically a load. Okay, it's a load that something delivers from one point to another. It's payload. Okay? So when you make request, nako nam, pasalod. Old na talaga siya, no? Bakit ka mo? Nabuhay siya nung era na uso ang pasalod. Naabutan niya. Okay. Payload is basically a data that the requester sends to the server. Okay? Here, let me go back to my MS Paint. This doesn't mean only... Okay, this is the request, right? It doesn't only mean you request for data. It can also mean you are sending a data that the API can process. It could be a data that will be saved into the database. Okay? So, Jeric, iba na naman tinitignan mo. Sige. Hindi na talaga kita ipapasa. Okay? Okay? So, the request can be blank if you are just asking for something from the server, or it could also be with data or with payload that you want to be stored in the server. Let's demonstrate that. I'm just going to give you the documentation on this and read it yourself for further understanding. So this time, I'm not going to use get. I'm going to use post. Post is sometimes I can just basically use get so I can demonstrate it to you. Okay, let me just use get, and then this will go to the, what do you call this again? Endpoint or route or path. Okay, now let me create another path. I'm going to have it at fruits. Okay, like that. And then next is I'm going to define a function that will handle that. This function has a parameter, okay, fruit. This is a string. Okay, this is a string. Of course, like that. Then press enter. So when I receive the request at fruits, I'm going to gather the parameter or the argument or the request parameter. It's called request parameter or input to this request that is coming from the server. It represents the payload that the request has during the request. You will see it later on in action. And then what I will do is I'm going to put it in the fruits by using append the fruit. So it should be fruits. Fruits, I am pertaining to this. I am appending. Anong gamit ng append? You are adding a new item to the list. What I'm adding is the one coming from the request, which is saved as the fruit variable. Now let me save this one. Let me go here. Ang hirap magturo, ano? Pero dadahanin ko ito para magets nyo. Okay? Now, it is in the fruit. Fruit lang, di ba? Or maybe it would be more sensible if I'm just going to use new. Okay, I'm just going to have new. Okay, new fruit. Like that. Save it. Just new. So I will go to /new there, which is the endpoint. And then, question mark. When I have a question mark there, it begins accepting data that is coming from my client. This is client, that server, which will be sent to the server. So the name of the parameter is fruit. So I'm going to have it there. And then the fruit that I want, the value of the fruit that I want to be sent. Give me a fruit, Bianca. Mango. Okay. Then, press enter. Why? Hindi tayo nag-return ng anything? No, that works. The reason why it's null because we did not return anything here. But that worked. That basically worked. How? Uy, may internet na. Okay. Let me go back here. Kulang yung codes ko. Okay. Here, what I will do is, I'm just going to return the fruits. Like that one. And then I'm going also to create in here. Umupo na nga lang ako. I'm going also to create another endpoint. I'm just going to call it /fruits. Okay. So this will be returned by get fruits. Like that one. And it's just going to return the fruits. Let's try this one, guys. Save. Let me refresh this one or enter it again. Okay. Another one. Banana. Another one. Then, gumagana na siya. Mango. Okay. What else? Apple. So, it's working already. So, what am I doing is I am sending data to the server using the request. So, the fruit there is the parameter name and then the value is apple. That's how you send data. Okay? So this is basically the value of it's not yet formatted as an object. So I'm going to do that later on. Now, the second thing is, say for example, I wanna return a specific data at specific index of the fruits. So I can have this one. Ang galing nito kasi it's already giving me suggestion what to type in. So def get fruit, this time get a specific fruit, and then I'm just going to pass in the index Okay? Which is an int. This will be an int. Gumana na kasi yung yung internet. Okay? Turn off ko na nga lang muna. This is annoying. Yan. Okay? Just like that. So get fruit. I'm going to get a specific fruit from the item. Which is this one. That's identified by that. This will be captured and stored in the index variable. Okay? If index is less than len items, if index is less than the length, okay, length of the items, then what I will do, what is the items, which is, the fruits rather, which is our list, then I'm just going to return that specific fruits, then paste in the index, okay, else, say, like that. Or maybe I'm just going to comment this for now. You will see what will happen. Okay. Let me just remove that for now. And go back here. I will go to /fruits. As you can see, it's none. Saan ba yung fruits? Yan. Fruits. Now, there should be /fruits in here. Like that one. And then refresh. It's empty. Kasi wala. Every time, guys, listen. Every time that we save here, the UV corn will refresh the server. And hence, it's going to rerun this codes. And it will revert back to empty list. That's how it works. Now, what I will do is demonstrate that. One will be displaying the things coming from the server. The other one will be sending data to be saved to the fruits list. Are you still there? Are you still listening? I know, I understand na nakakantok talaga yung oras na ito, but please, fight. Okay, fight. Okay? New. This is how we go to the endpoint that accepts new data, which accepts a parameter fruit, and we pass here a value. Press enter. Let me have another one. Apple. If I'm going to refresh this one, it will return the same thing. Now, if I'm going to get, say, /0, it's going to return, say, let me say 1. Fruits. No, it's fruit, not fruits. It's fruits. I think it's fruit. It's fruits. But the problem is query index. No, it's not because of the internet. Field required input. It's the null. It's the index. Wait. Item ID. It should be this one. I have to place another one here. Or this will be str. Bakit ayaw niya yung item ID? Sorry, this should be like this. Fruit ID. Fruit index. It should be the same. Fruit index. This and this should be the same, and this should be the fruit index. Save. Let me try it out again. Are you following? Okay. Then let me get all the fruits. Why it is replacing the data? Okay. Banana, apple, and then I want to return everything. I just want to return the one from index 0. It's going to give oranges 1, and then oops 2. Now I am accessing the index. I am accessing the item at a specific index. That's what I am doing here. Yan, in this type of paths or routes. Understood? But in case that I goes out of bound like this one, there will be an internal server error like that because we don't have index 5, right? It basically causing an error in the program. I am accessing something that is not in the list. So I'm going to properly handle that by erasing an HTTP status code. Something like this one. I'll need another class. Listen, I'm going to call it HTTP exception. I'm going to use that. What will I do is if the index is over the available index in my list, then I'm just going to raise an error, which is an HTTP exception. The status code, I'm going to just show you. Basically, what I am discussing is already here. Since meron na tayong internet. Mabagal pa rin. Never mind. I'm just going to share with you the documentation of what I am doing here. Status code. The status code will be 404. It's typically common for page that cannot be found. Okay? Like when you go facebook.com. Do we have facebook.com? No? Then I'm just going to say fruit is missing. Something like that. I'm going to save this one. Refresh this one. Takes time for this to reload. Or there's a problem. Yeah, there's an error. Raise exception. Status code is 404. Detail. Fruit is missing. There's a problem. Await endpoint. You will see the problem in here. So, dapat marunong kayong tumingin ng error. Nasaan yung detail niya? Mababa yung oras natin. Bakit ang late na lang naman? Uminom ka? Ginugulat lang kita. Function in, where is that? Index is less than len of fruits, then fruit index, which is this one. Else, it's just going to return this. FastAPI, import FastAPI. Save. Let me see if things change. And let me go back here. Then, nagkaroon ng error. If index. Okay. Can you spot the problem? This one. That variable is missing because it should be fruit index. Okay. Be careful on your variables. Sometimes you are using variables that's misspelled. Refresh. It should work now. You should get detail fruit is missing. Okay. Now, let's now proceed to validation. using Pydantic. Pydantic is basically another library that we can use to format, or number one is to validate whether the incoming data is correct, and also auto-format it with an object-oriented style data. Because what we are returning here, for example, if I'm going to use this one, what it is returning is not basically a JSON object. I'm going to further discuss JSON object later on. I think I have the internet already. Let me show if I can get that. Can get that wiki. Kung wala, di we'll stick with what we have right now. Okay? It's gone or it's not reachable. Now, we're going to use Pydantic. Okay? So, to use Pydantic models, you will see the use of Pydantic. Just going to open a new terminal. So to use Pydantic, you have to install pip. You have to install Pydantic by using pip install Pydantic. Should be pip install. Like that. Press enter. It should work if you have internet, but I don't have a working internet. I'm just not going to do that. Anyway, I have it already in this copy of program. And by the way, we have to keep records of the dependencies that we have used in our program. So we do not manually record them. So we do not manually record them. We can use the command pip freeze, and then I'm going to save it to requirements.txt. Press enter, and it's going to create a requirements.txt. It lists all the dependencies that is being used by my application. As you can see, we already have other dependencies pertaining to my MySQL. Okay, so let's go back here. So I'm going to use that Pydantic. So to do that, I'm going to import it from Pydantic. I'm going to import base model. Now this base model will be used as a parent model or class for entities. What are entities? This is relevant to the entities I kept talking about in your Infoman. Entities are just a way to represent real world items or things or anything. Could be a person, a car, whatever. Now here, let me just create an entity or a class that represents the entity fruit. So to do that, I'm going to create a class. This is how you create class in Python, right? Class. It's same with Java. It uses the keyword class. And then let's give it a name. Let me call it fruit. And I have to import base model. Okay, something like that. We do not use extends, right? That's not how we do extending or inheritance in Python. Okay? But rather we define the name of the class, and then open parentheses like method, you specify the class you want to inherit from. I want to inherit from base model, so I can use Pydantic in validating the data coming from the request or from the user. Okay? And format my response in a beautiful auto JSON format. Something like that. You will see that later on. My fruit has number one, property name. What else can you give as a property for fruit? Mr. Mina, what's that? Kukuliktahin ko cellphone mo. Can you give me a property for fruit, Jeric? Sweet. Sweet is an adjective. I am asking about property. We already have one here, name. What can also be recorded? What can also be recorded for the entity fruit? Seed. Seedless na lang siguro. Seedless will be, it's a boolean. By default, it's a true. Okay? It's, no. Is this a data type for bool? No. It's bool. Like that one. Bool. Mr. Aldin Jade, what is bool? Malam. It's the one basketball players are playing. The bull. Okay. That one, let's keep it simple as that. For now, this is required. Now, this is not required because we have a default value for that. Now, next. Okay. Next, we're going to use that. So, here, instead of receiving or formatting the fruit item as a generic, what do you call this? As a generic string, I'm just going to type it as fruit object. Okay? It's going to, and also fruits. What else? Okay, this endpoint is an endpoint that receives something and save it here. Now this one is an endpoint that gives something. Now we can specify the response model of the fruits. So it's a fruit, so it's going to return Elise. The response model are, what does this is used for is which format we want the return value here will take. Hirap mag-English. Hindi, may mga Englishero tayo eh. Sorry. Okay, response model is the format of the data this endpoint will return. So we're going to use the list and then fruit, like that one. So this will return a list of fruit. You will see that it's going to give you a JSON of fruits later on. And then also this one, this will also return a fruit object. Okay, the response model will be the fruit. Okay, bear with me. Wala tayong magagawa, hanggang 4 tayo eh. Okay, save. Now let me do this again. Now this won't work already. Refresh. This won't work already. Now in order for us to properly test this, because it's not going to accept as this is, we're going to format our payload in a JSON format. Or we can go to localhost docs, that's auto-generated. It will contain a Swagger UI documentation on the endpoint that we have created with our API application. Let's just wait for that. It will take time for that to create, or it won't proceed if may problema dun sa codes natin. Let me just see. Yun, wala namang problema. It will just take time for that to be loaded. I think this requires an internet for that to run. Show you this time. I can show you the the documentation that I am following in my discussion. It's this one. 3.1 is how are you going to set up your environment to create FastAPI. That involves creating virtual environment. Okay. The second is, let me discuss to you JSON and API testing. So what is JSON? JSON is first it means JavaScript object. Guys, listen already. JavaScript object notation. That is JSON. It's a lightweight format used to exchange data between a client and a server. So JSON is among the data interchange format, DIF, data interchange format that is used to send or exchange data between two systems that are not written on the same language. It could also be two different environment, two different system, two different software. Okay? As you can see, I am able to communicate to the server via the browser without writing a Python script to do that. I just have to make a request to a URL endpoint and send the necessary data. So this is the format of JSON. It resembles your dictionary in Python. Okay? And it easily mirrors or maps out your object in your programming language. So it begins with curly braces to be followed by key value pair separated by colon. Now, for every key value pair, they are separated with comma. Okay? The last one doesn't have a comma there because it's the last key value pair in there. So this is basically the format. We have the key name, the value is Alice. The key age, the value is 25. The key email, the value is alice@example.com. Now, I also introduced a while ago some of the request method that we have. We have done get so far. Get is basically used to retrieve data, but we can also, this is the general use of get, just to get or retrieve data, but we can also send data using get. Okay? But the most common or general method that is used to send data from the client or the server, from the client or the browser is the post method. We also have extra request method like the put, like it's going to use, if it's being used for updating existing data. Patching is partially updating existing data. We also have the delete or deleting data. Okay, this is the illustration that I created a while ago. From client, it communicates to the API that has a direct contact with the database. And the interchange format for data is called JSON. These are called endpoint or route or path. Okay? We're going to use the API later on to bridge the gap between our Flutter application and the database. Now to test or try our endpoint, we just have to go at /docs. This is built in. You don't have to create it for yourself. It creates it presents us a Swagger UI documentation. And as you can see, here are the list of paths or routes that we can connect or make contact with our application. Look at this. Okay. Now we can try creating. Okay. Try it out. It's going to offer us this. We have to edit it. Okay. Avocado. Say avocado. Is it seedless? No. False. Execute. Okay. Then we have another request. Mango again. Later on, we are going to persist data by saving it in the MySQL. Execute. Now we have 2 fruits created. Yes. We're going to get the fruits. See if we can retrieve the 2 fruits that we have created. Execute. It's empty. Oh, it's empty. It's empty. But I was able to this one. In our code, let's try this one. We're going also to specify the response model of this create. Basically, when we create an object, it's sending back the created. I mean, it's sending back the list, the whole list in the new. But this is not basically the common way of doing things. We can actually say we can have this one. We can basically erase this one. I'm just going to copy that. Copy. Here. Then status code will be 200. And then the detail is fruit is successfully saved. Are you still listening? Okay. Now 200 is a status meaning success. We have a documentation on that in here in the in our repository. I think it's in the same. I think I included it here. It's not included. 400 for offer is technically for errors, server error. 200 is basically used for success. Let's try this out. Refresh. Let's try the get fruit. The create one. We're going to click try it out and say avocado. Execute. We should get a response. Type error failed. Oh. Okay, for this, the reason why it wasn't working a while ago is we have to make this pause. Okay, we have to make that pause by editing this here. That one. Save it again. And trying it out. Try it out again. Avocado. And then execute.
Sir Johnny.
Okay, let's try this out. Let me just refresh it. This one, it's already a post request. Try it out. Now let's change this one to avocado, which is seedless. There is a seedless avocado, and we will get this fruit is successfully saved. Then we have another one. Pongkan? Is there a fruit called pongkan? There. It's successful code. Then let's try running this one, getting the fruits. Try it out. Execute. We should get a list of not that one, not that basically, not the index. It's the get fruits endpoint. Try it out. Execute. We should be able to get the created this is an array of JSON objects. Array in JSON is the same with Python. It uses the square bracket notation. This is an array. This is the first object. This is the second object. These are the property or the key value pair, the key value pair for this object. It has two. Okay, we have two key value pair, or these are the properties that contains the keys, which is are this one, and their values. Key value, key value, they are separated by colon. Okay, it's working already. Even the pedantic, it's working. Now this time we will now proceed to connecting it to MySQL so that our data will be persistent rather. We're going to use a persistent data. I think I already have the documentation for that here. I did not place it there. I'm just going to place it there later on. Okay, let's proceed. This time, we're going to save the data into our database. So the first thing that we're going to do, guys, is let's connect to our database. Okay, we're going to save that fruits in our database. So how do we create a database? We can connect to the database server. How do we do that? We have to make sure that we have access to a database. How are we going to do that? We're now done with this. We're now going to do this, which is the second agenda. We still have 2 hours. Do you know that we still have 2 hours? Okay, we're now going to do this. Connect FastAPI with MySQL. We're done with the create APIs, FastAPI. We're now going to dive into this. And then later on, we're going to connect them. We're going to connect it into our Flutter app. And then next meeting will be the authentication. Authentication will be involving signing in with user password and another extra signing using Google. Okay. Now, how are we going to do that? We need to install dependencies that will facilitate our connection to the database. And also, we have to have an access to a database by installing the server. Jeric. Sige. Ha? I-drop na talaga kita. I'm sorry. But I have to drop you. Naririnig pala ako dun. Okay? Last warning na. Okay, we're going to open our terminal. Open a different terminal aside from this one. What we are going to do is install the dependencies that is required in order for us to be able to connect to the database. What do we need is this. I haven't placed the documentation here. I'm just going to provide it later. What do we need is this one. How do we install? Guys, how do we install dependency again? What is the first command? It's pip Philippines. Okay, pip. Okay, and then install. And then we will need SQL Alchemy. SQL Alchemy. Another one is MySQL. And then we will also need Alembic. Alembic will help us to create migrations. So we are going to define, it's in our code. We will define the structure of our database, not in the database itself. Press enter, that will be installed. Just like that. Okay? We're just going to wait on that. Then second thing is, we're going to access the database. Do you still remember how to install your database? Okay. Install database. You can go to Google and download MariaDB, which is same as MySQL, or MySQL Community Server. Install that, set it up. Initial installation will ask you to um, place your password, and then you can access it using a client. There are so many clients that we can use. If you use some, you can make use of the PHP My Admin, or you can use HeyDSQL, okay? Or you can use command line. You have to download. You have to download the binary files that makes you or helps you connect to the database server and run it via CMD. But I'm just going to use SQL. Okay. Do you still remember this one, guys? Your favorite subject before? Oy, I want you to listen. Hindi na kayo nakikinig dyan. Please, hindi na kayo mga elementary na kailangan ko pa kayong sabihang makinig. Na, ano yun akong hintayin mag-name drop. Okay. I'm going to create a fresh database. I only have to create a database. I only have to, what do you call this? Ang hirap talaga mag-English. I'm going to create a fresh database for this application. So to do that, I'm going to just right click here and then click create new and then database. Or right click root, create new database. I'm going to name it as fast or fast root. It's up to you how to name your what do you call this? Your database. I'm just going to name it fruit DB. Okay? Fruit DB. And then okay. Now I'm going to create a special user that I'm going to use to grant access to the fruit DB. Isn't it? I told you before that you do not just use the root user, which is the super admin of your database, Mr. Reyes, right? Do you remember that? You have to create a special user that is granted, that has granted or is granted access to this specific database. So we're going to create a database. How do we do that? I think I forgot it already. Create user FastAPI at localhost. I'm trying to guess it. Okay. Identified by 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Run. Yeah. It worked. Did it work? Yeah, it did work. So, maalala ko pa. Next, I'm going to check the attendance later on, by the way. Next is, I'm going to grant access to my database. How do we do that? Grant access. I forgot it. Wait. Sabi ko na nga ba? It's all grant all privileges on which database? I know which user. I know which database. It's the fruit DB. Take note of that. I want to grant all privileges on fruit DB all tables to the user that I just created, which is FastAPI. No, it's only FastAPI. Huh? At okay. Yeah, that like just like that. Run. There's an error. Run or privileges. privileges. It's done. And then I'm going to flush the toilet. I'm going to flush the privilege table to make that take effect. And the one, press enter. And we have it. Take note of that credential that you created. Now, the second thing that we're going to do now is create an ANV. We're going to create an ANV. So to do that, ANV. ANV file. I'm just going to create new file there. It should be outside up. It should be outside up here. Just make it .env. And then we're going to specify here a variable. Env is a file where you can place environment variable that will be used by your application. Sometimes the content are sensitive, like it contains password which should not be exposed to the internet. So I added that env file in the git ignore file. Those files and folders that are placed in the git ignore will not be included in git versioning. Hence, it will not be pushed to GitHub when you push. Okay? So let me go back here. The format for the link will be MySQL plus MySQL. This is pertains to the driver that we're going to use to communicate with the database server. Okay? And then the link will be number one, the username that we created. You can use the root, but I said do not just use root for any application. The root is a super admin. We created a special user to take care of logging in that we can use to log in to the server, which is the FastAPI. The password is 1234. Okay, and then at I'm going to use at localhost, and then slash the name of the database, which is fruitdb. Save that one. We're going to use that one later on. Okay, we're going to use that later on. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we are done with creating the model. I think it would be better if we're going to separate these files into a separate file already. Okay, we are going to do just that. Wait. Okay, let's continue. So that's how we do it. So how we did it, we created another database file, which is this one. We're going to use this to handle database connection. And then to do this engine, we're going to create an engine. Create engine. We pass in the database server. Add database URL. Session local is equal to session maker. Okay. Bind engine auto commit is false, auto flash is false, and then base is equal to declarative base, just like that. So we hope that this will handle our connection to the database. You just have to use those codes. Okay, next. We're now going to create a model. Model is a separate file that represents all our entities in our program. We have one entity right now, which is the fruit. In next time that we need to represent other entities in our program, then we just have to add them in the models.py. So here I'm going to create another file inside the app and make it models.py. Okay. What we need here is the alchemy from SQL alchemy. Import column integer string. SQL alchemy has something to do with interfacing our application with SQL, and we are and it helps in auto generating the tables in the database from our model classes. So we are importing data types, or what do you call this, column types, that is similar to your SQL. We also have from that database import base class user inheriting the base, which is coming from this. This is one. This is the object that we have created, that again it helps us to generate database tables out of code. Okay? Do you get that? Okay, class base. No, bakit user ginawa ko dito? Fruit pala yung ginagawa natin. Fruit base.
Sir, nawala naman na rito yung present mo.
Fruit. Kapag class, fruit. Singular. Okay? And then, the table name. Table. Name will be fruits. Ito yung table that will store all our data for the fruit objects. It has, number one, ID. It's a column. The data type is integer. So, here, I'm going to introduce to you database migration. Database migration spells like this one. This is common to many framework. This one. Database migration. This is common to many framework, unlike like FastAPI. What does this do? It helps you define the structure of your database in code, and you don't have to do it in the client separately. Did you get that, Derek? Okay, so that's database migration. So we don't have to manually create the table here. If we want to update or alter our table, we just have to define it in the database migration, and we just have to run a command to apply the same changes of the configuration of our database tables in the code. Okay, I'm going to show you that later on. This is beautiful, like Jeric. Okay, database models. This is type integer. Okay, it should be primary key. So we have to specify primary key is equal to true, and of course we have to index it. I think if it's primary key, that's automatically an index. We also have the fruit, or the fruit name, which is again a column. Okay, the type is string. Should be, no, we use string that will be automatically identified as varchar, because we can the advantage of this is, one, database migration, you can apply that to any type of database, not just MySQL. Okay, so string is basically a more general term to represent those data that are series of characters. Let me just make it 100, or it's like similar to varchar 100, like that. Take note of that. And then, should it be unique? No. It should be index? No. But you can make it nullable. It can be nullable. As simple as that. Now, how about seedless? Seedless is a column. It's a boolean. I think that's how you create boolean. Okay. With default value, we just do it like this. Boolean and then default is equal to true. Okay. As simple as that. So we are done with creating our models. Yeah, it should be seedless. Okay. Yeah. I saw it. Wait. I'm just looking for something. So this should be seedless. Thanks for the idea, Jerick. The idea was the idea was given by Jerick. I think Jerick deserves our clap. Thank you, Jerick. Now the next thing that we're going to do now is um we're going to run a command that will now execute the migration. We make sure that we have to save this one. Okay. The command is we are going to use the Alembic. Do you remember me installing that Alembic dependency? We're going to run Alembic init and then we're just going to call it Alembic. Okay, the name of the folder. Press enter. It's going to create. There's a problem. I think it's anyway. Yeah, this one. It's created also with this one. Okay. Those were generated, but I'm wondering what are these problem. Please edit configuration connection logging settings in the Alembic ini. It says here I have to edit this one, okay, and specify how to connect to the system. Okay, we're going to update SQL Alchemy URL. This one, I'm going to change this one with this one. The driver is MySQL plus MySQL colon, that's the driver, and then the username, which is FastAPI, password 11234, and then at localhost slash fruitdb. Save. Okay? And then we're going to also edit alembic env.py. Okay? With this thing, we have to import models. Where? From models rather. From models. Okay. Where is that models? We import base. Where did we have that base? Where is the base? The base is coming from there. I think we have to do it here. From dot slash from dot slash app slash database import base. It should be this. That one. So we are importing the base from app database. That one. We will need that there. And then we specify target metadata with base dot metadata. Add your model's metadata object here for auto-generate support from my app import model. Import my model. Let's try this one. And then what we will do now is this one. We're going now to run Alembic. Let's try this one if it works. Auto generate -m. We're going to create fruits table. There's an error. Let's see. Frozen run py. Let's try this one. Let's try this fix from models. Run it again. From app dot models import base, that one. Then save it again and try to run it. Alembic revision auto generate. Still not working. Attempted relative import. Okay, I did it like this. SQL Alchemy. Then doon sa may yeah, it's wrong spelling. This one. This alchemy. Tas walang boolean. Yung boolean. Let's try this one if it would work. Doesn't want it. Wait. Okay, we have fixed it. Things that have made it fixes. We should have added this one. Okay. Yeah. And also, we should have imported from app.models here. And then, we just have created a migration. And then, to actually generate the tables is what we are going to do. We're going to run Alembic upgrade head. And we'll see if the fruits table is created. Refresh. Look at it. And it is generated already. Okay. Well, we're done here. We did not created the tables in the client manually, but we specify the structure of the table in the Python code. So the purpose of this is so we will just be working on one place. We're not going to work on the MySQL side. directly, but we work on the code. Okay, we're done with that. Then the next thing is, we're not done with that. We're not done basically with everything we need to do here. We are just created the migration. What we did was database migration. What we did was we created a script that when we run the Alembic upgrade head, it's going to convert this code into an actual database table. Okay? Did you get that? Okay, next is we're now going to create schema, or we can just do it here already. We do have it already here in the main.py in our controller. So what I will do is I'm going to store this into the database already. So how do we do that? So I'm going to create an extra function here to get the database connection, which we can do it in a different file. Def get db is equal to session local. We have to import that session local from the database. Just here from database import session local. Okay. Then after that, try. We're going to use try. Isn't it? Do you remember when we are connecting in Java, we have to try catch because it could result into an error if we cannot connect to the database. We're going to yield the DB. Then finally, we're going to say DB dot terminate the connection like that one. Now, in the new, what we will do here, instead of appending to the fruits list, what we will do actually is we're going to what? What are we going to do? We're going to save it. So I'm going to remove this now. I'm not going to save it into the item and into the fruits list. So what I will do is I'm going to run um dv fruit is equal to fruit like this one. We don't need to do that. I'm just going to use this fruit here. Okay. I will have an extra parameter here called db, which is a session. Session is equal to depends on get db. Session is coming from SQL Alchemy ORM. So I have to import it, okay, from SQL Alchemy dot orm import session, okay, to make this piece of code here work, that one. And also I will also have to import depends from the FastAPI in here, that one. Okay. That would work now. And then I'm going to use that db to insert a data. db.add. I just have to call that, and then I'm just going to save the fruit into the database. Okay? And for the fetch, I'm going to work on the fetch already directly. Okay? How do we do that? Fetch db. Let's just try this one for now. Oops, what happened? Okay. Save. Let's see if the UVcorn has restarted and there is no error. No module database. Yeah, the problem is I have to add that in there. That. Save. Reloading. Startup complete. Now I'm going to refresh. I'm going to refresh this one. This. Refresh it. And go to new. Let's see if it's saving in the database already. Try it out. Avocado. True. Execute. Let's refresh this one. It didn't work. It could have produced an error. Got unexpected keyword argument auto commit. Yeah, it's wrong spelling. It should be auto commit double M. Save. Let's wait for that to finish reloading. Let's go back here again and reset. Cancel and then try it out and then say avocado. Then execute. Internal server error. There's an error again. Let's see here. App main fruit is not map. DB add fruit. It's not map. Let's see. How can we solve this one? It should be map. Hirap mag-programming, ano? Kaya natin yan. Okay, I'm doing this because I want you to understand that we are in the same we are on the same ano yung gusto kong sabihin? We are in the same situation that when we are programming, it's basically a challenging task, but the more we do this, the more we get used to it. I wanna admit that I'm not so used to programming Python. Okay? I'm doing this because I have the idea that programming in any other language is just so easy if you have just mastered just single programming language. I think I have to also do db.commit here. Okay. And then db.refresh fruit. And there is also a problem with this one. It says that this is not map. That fruit is not map according to the error here. Class app main fruit is not map. ORM. So let's see how we can change that. User out. Response model is user out. It's user create. It's the same thing. Depends on get db. As you can see, I have here two classes, right? I have a fruit class here, and I have another fruit class here. This is in connection with the migration, and this is for retrieving data from the request. Now, it's so strange that it doesn't work. Let me just refresh this one. Try it out again. Try it out. then mango, then execute, same error, probably same reason, which is the it's not map. This is it. So what I am doing now is I am prompting ChatGPT to help me look into the problem. But SQL can spec. Yeah, it should be. Okay, I get the problem already. I get the solution. The reason is DB at that add is expecting for a what do you call this? It is expecting for a database model, not pedantic model. This is pedantic model. This is a pedantic model. That one. And then this is a ORM model. Now, let me explain this to you. The db.add is expecting for an ORM model. And I'm just passing this one, which is a pedantic model. So to do that, I'm going to create another object to convert this into an ORM model. So I'm just going to name it dbFruit or just new fruit like that is equal to models. Do I have models here? I have to import it. I have to import it from the model. From models import fruit like that one. Okay. So here new fruit will be fruit. Pero magkukuha na ito, magko-conflict models. I'm just going to name this as models. And then models dot fruit. Let's see if this would work. Models dot fruit name is equal to fruit fruity dot name, and then seedless is equal to fruit dot seedless. That way, and then instead of fruit here, I'm going to have new fruit. Save. I'm going to explain to you this if it would work. Much of our job as a programmer, guys, is trial and error. Wait for that to load. It's already 2:56. We still have 1 hour before we go home and enjoy the academic break. Yay! Ay, yung mga ko na sasali dun sa startup, please try. As you can see, guys, what I'm doing here is I'm doing it slowly because I want you to learn this. Okay? Sa una lang talaga, mahirap mag-aral. Pero sanayan ito. Okay? Kaya kailangan nyong magtiyaga. Okay po ba? Okay, thank you for that. Try it out again. Reset. You just can reset it. Avocado. Execute. Internal error again. Let's see that. Let's be patient. We will be able to um, close this error. I mean, deal with it completely. It says here, app main fruitcake is not mapped. Where? Let's see. Okay. This one. I'm sorry about that. I forgot to edit this too. This one. It should be new fruit. Okay. Save it again. And then I can execute it. I think I can just click this one and refresh it. No additional error again. I think it would just be. I have to refresh it. Cancel. Try it out. Avocado. Execute. There you go. Fruit is successfully saved. Refresh this one. Sa tingin nyo, meron ng laman to? Yes or no? Yay! Nandun na guys. Okay? Isa pa. We're going to try saving. Nakailang save kasi ako kaya ang dami ng kwan. Give me a fruit. Pear. Execute. Successfully save. Refresh. There you go. Okay? Now, our job now is to fetch data from the database. Okay? So, I'm just going to give you these codes for your reference. This time, instead of returning the fruits, which is this it's still coming from the fruit list, we're going to fetch data from the database. That's what we are going to do. You know what? I can just prompt ChatGPT to transform this to transform this to get data from the database. I can even ask it to create an endpoint for search. It would be cleaner, guys, if I'm just going to move this to a separate file. I'm just going to name it as schemas. Schemas.py. Save it here. I have to import. What class is this coming from? It's the pedantic. Import pedantic. Hindi. From pedantic, import base model. Okay? And we can also create a separate schema for output. Okay? We can extend this by creating class fruit out. Fruit out is for formatting. It is used to format the output. Okay? And we are basically extending the fruit crate there. So how do we do that? ID will be int. Okay? And then class config ORM mode is equal to true. And we can also convert the seedless, yes or no. We're just going to deal with that in the code. Wait. I think there's better way we can, there's a better organization if we can move this DB in the session local. I mean, session local. In here, I think we can place it here. Just like that. I'm just going to move that get DB in there. The session local is coming from the here. I'm just going to move this here to make it better. Session local is this one. Okay. Now I will not need this one already. I will not need this session local there. And even the pedantic model, I'm going to delete them there already because they are not used import. I'm just making it cleaner. Now to test the edit, I have to import this by from dot schemas import models, and then this will be models. We can say import fruit create. Okay, then later on we will use the fruit out, just like that. Save, and we're going to test if this edit is still working. Okay, how? By testing, going back here and testing it out. Unless there is a problem with the code, we'll see. And sure enough, we'll see what are the problems. GetDB is not defined, of course. GetDB is not defined. How are we going to import that? GetDB function. We go here from dot database import getDB. That would solve the problem because we have moved it. And refresh this. Try this one again. Try it out. Oy, are you still listening? Sige, hindi nakikinig. Bahala kayo dyan. Give me a fruit, Mr. Perlas, kang silanganan. You're not paying attention. Execute. It's still working. Check the database. It's cleaner. The latest design is cleaner. Now this time, I'm just going to read from the database. And then, after we are able to read from the database, we will now proceed to Flutter and display the data from the API. That will be the last topic. And if you are done, early, then I'm going to discuss you early. Now, in the fruits DB here, let me go back here. As you can see, ay, mga engineer, kailangan nyo ding matutong mag-program. Okay, so here in the fruits, instead of returning the list of fruits, the response model will be fruit out, not the fruit create. Okay, this is coming from the schema. It's formatted. Now, we have to again pass here DB, and then that DB is coming from, where it's coming from? Session. The session will be, depends on the get DB. Okay, what does this mean? I'm going to explain to you what does this mean. So first, we have to know that we have to pass this as a parameter to the function that process the slash fruits endpoint. DB session, DB is a parameter that represents a database connection, which is this one. And then the type session comes from the SQL Alchemy dependency. It's used to interact with the database. What are the operations? We have the query, the insert, also the update, and then the delete. This one The meaning of that is it tells FastAPI framework to automatically run the getDB function and inject it into this calling function, okay, into the DB parameter. Inject it and assign it to the DB. Okay? So it's create a connection and that connection will be accessible via the DB. Okay? The connection is needed. The connection is basically an object that helps us to interact with the database. Take note of that. Okay? So the getDB, what does it do? It opens a connection. It's connect. It communicates to the database. Take note again, API is separate from the database. The getDB will open a connection to the database, and after creating a session, meaning the session is created because the credential is correct, it's going to perform the database operations like creating, reading, updating, deleting, and all other operations that we can perform with our database. Now, what we will do now is we're going to read the fruits. Okay, we are going to read the fruits from the database. So this is how it will do. So instead of returning the fruits here, which is guys, where does this fruits coming from? Huh? In that. Where is it? It's in line 8, which is a blank list. Now, we are now going to delete this. We don't need that. Thank you, fruits list. We will now get the data from the database. So, we have to edit this. So, it's simple. We have call on the DB object and then we type query. Okay? We type query. What we want to query is the fruit model fruit model. We want to query the table fruit dot all. Okay? And the result of that, we have to save it in fruits. Okay? And then these fruits will be automatically formatted as fruit out and return fruits. Just like that. Save it. I will now test it using this one. I will go to get fruits. This one, try it out, execute, and it's returning blank. We'll see. There could be some error here. Wala namang error. Yeah, I think we need to refresh this one. Try it out again. Execute. There you go. The list of... Okay. Take note. The result will be a JSON. This is a JSON object. Okay? And every object represent the row from the database. Okay? We are done with that. We are going to deal with delete and update later on. Now, I'm excited to apply this to the Flutter. We are just going to create a list of fruits in the Flutter. Now, what I will do now is I'm going to open the Flutter app. I'm going to open a separate window. So, separate window, same VS Code. If we are done displaying the data from the Flutter, then we are good to go. Are you done with navigation in Flutter, right? I gave you as an activity before, navigation. Getting from one screen to another screen. Okay, good. Wait. We're going to open another. I think I have the codes. I have an existing code for Flutter here. I'm just going to open it. Open folder. Stop this. And then I think it's this. I'm just going to rename that. I'm just going to name it Flutter. Flutter app. Select folder. Wait. Cancel. I'm going to open a new window and open the folder I was planning to open a while ago, which is this one. There you go. And then this is the main Dart. I'm just going to create a new branch here. New branch. Check what branch is this? It's profile. Now, I'm going to create git status. I have so many new file here. What I will do is, I think I'm just going to commit that to the profile. I don't know if it's needed, and push it git remote show origin. Git add dot git commit m um save profile edits. I do not remember what I did with this profile. Git push origin profile. And then I'm going to create another branch for the API connection. So git checkout. This is annoying. I don't know how to. This one, I cannot hide this. How can I get rid of this? I know. I know now already. Clear? And then git checkout dash b API already. Then we can now begin editing our codes. I'm going to empty everything in my. I'm going to even um, delete this and empty also this one. The one, so we can begin from start. So here's what we're going to do. In our main, we're going to create. We're going to have our void main, like that one. And then we're going to run. What did you use in your navigation? You use routes, name routes, right? Did you use now name routes? Yes or no? Wait. So we'll have two file here. The first one will be widgets for list fruits dart. The second one will be um create fruits dart. Okay. So in the main dart, this is how I'm going to structure my main dart. Void main. Let me create an extra Dart file, home.dart. So this will contain the home screen. So this will be how it looks like. It's a stateful widget. Why it becomes a stateful widget? It's the selected index. Okay, let's do this. So, class, I'm going to create a stateful widget. Do you still remember how to create stateful and stateless widget? Huh? Yeah? Are you sure? Okay. I'm going to have the fruit up. This is a stateful. Are you still there? We have to import this. Import. Ah. Is it automatically imported? We have to import it. Flutter material dart. Or is it? Okay. And then we're going to have cons. I think I will need the autopilot here already. Autopilot, I will need your service to make things fast. There you go. Extend this kasi. Yan. I'm just going to make this home like that one. And then this one cons home super key like that one. Then override, we're going to create a state, a create state variable, and then we will create that home state here. So class home state. Ang bilis. Pero hindi yan ang gusto kong mangyari. What I will want is I want a scaffold with up bar, of course. The text is home. But before I proceed with that, I need an index because I will present it with two button on the navigation bar. The one is list, the one is create. You will see how it looks like later on. Int selected index. Oops, int selected index by default is the first one. Okay. I will have two screen later on. Final list of screens. Okay. There are two, but I'm just going to do that later on. Okay, I will do that later on. Okay. And then I will have the widget already up bar, and then this will be the home. Basically, this is not necessary. Scaffold. Okay. I'm just going to create this one. Remove the body. I'm just going to delete this one. This is suggested by the autopilot. Okay. Let me remove that for now. What I will have to place in here is while this is being, I'm just going to start the emulator now, but I demonstrated with you that you can use the your phone. It is for those who are using their laptop, you just use your phone to debug your app. Okay. Of course, because you don't have to run emulator in your computer. Okay. Pero yung mga naka-iPhone, you have no choice but to just use the emulator. You cannot, the implementation of wireless debugging with iOS is not possible because of iOS strict ecosystem. Strict, okay? So I'm going to say here the bottom navigation bar. It's going to contain two, okay? It's going to contain two things. This will have a value of bottom navigation bar. The items, okay, number one, items is bottom navigation item. The icon will be, shh, what's that? Icon, the icon will be icons dot add, maybe, icons dot plus, this one, plus one rounded. That one, let's try that one. Then the label, yes, add fruit, like that one. Okay, and another item, guys, is bottom navigation bar, list fruits, just like that. Okay, semicolon. I think this would work now if we're going to run it. Let me see if I don't need that. I have to need that. I have to import it. Quick fix is import, like that one. Now I will go to my main Dart. What I will do is I'm going to um, run up, and then material home, material up rather. This one, and then I'm just going to import this in here, just like that. I'm going to see if I can already run this. Okay, and then I'm going to proceed later on working on the rest. Okay, so what I will do is, let me see if it's already prepared. I'm going to run it. Let's wait for that. And while waiting, I'm going to continue working on the other screen, the create fruit screen. Create fruit screen. Create fruits. I'm just going to name it as create fruits screen. Parang ma-exhaust lang din naman natin yung oras natin. Pero tapusin na natin, guys, para makarami na tayo. Kailan? Sayang yung time natin. So class create fruit screen. This will be a, what will be that? What will be? It's a stateful widget. And then list fruit screen. Class list fruit screen. Save. Then save. Hopefully we will be able to do that. As you can see, we have it here already. We have the add fruit and we have the list fruit. Look at that at the bottom. We can decorate that, by the way, but we're going to focus to make them work for now. Okay. I think I'm just going to copy paste the code and show you how it works. Would that be fine? Okay, sure. Wait. Let's begin with listing. Okay, let's begin with listing. So we're going to work on this. But before that, I have to identify here in the main Dart, it's in the home rather, I'm going to do the logic on selecting the active screen already. Okay, wait. I'm just going to copy paste. I think you are used to that way of doing things, by the way. Create screen, then the main dot. There are two screens. We have the create fruit screen. Another one is list. Where is this coming from? It's coming from here, this one. But I have to import these two. Import. Why I cannot input it? It's fruit screen. Sorry. So this will be the two screens that I will swap or interchange depending on the button that will be selected later on. So how to do that? I have to create a function just like this one on item tab and then index. Okay. And this will be handled at the bottom, which is mm, here. Um, Current index, which is this one. Current index will be the selected index, and then we'll have an on top, and then when the navigation button is clicked, then we're just going to execute or call the item tab like that one. And also the current selected, we're going also to place here sorry, the current selected screen is that one. Screens and then selected index, just like that. It should be the body. Bakit ayan? The argument type object can be assigned to a parameter type widget. Up bar. I'm going to remove this one. There should be no up bar. Screens. Okay. The reason for that is I haven't declared this as a widget. That's the reason why. So what I will do now, before I proceed here and fix things there, I'm now going to work on the list fruit screen. So to do that, I'm just going to do this one. What is nullsum? I am not understanding that. What do you mean nullsum? I'm going to import this to fix the things. Fix, import. Okay. And then this one has to be created. Cons, the one, do not forget that. That's necessary. Create full screen, create fruit screen. This is fruit screen. List fruit screen. Okay, sorry. I am working on the list. Sorry. Undo. It should be the list. Okay. I have to create models. I'm going to create a folder models here. And then the model will be used to represent the fruit object. fruit.dart. Okay, so we'll have a class here, fruit. Okay, final int id, final string name, final boolean seedless, just like that. And then let's create a constructor fruit, and then um using the name what you call this, name parameter required this id, required this name, just like that. And then within this class we are going also to create a factory. It's how we are going to convert the API provided JSON into this object. So we can just have a factory here, fruit from JSON, and then map string dynamic JSON. Okay, just like that, from JSON. It should be inside the class. Okay, it should be inside the class. Return fruit object, and just like this. If it's one, then sorry, it should be like this. One. If it's one, then it's going to return true. Else, false. Just like that. Save. Now I'm going to import that in this list because I'll be needing that. Import import dot import models. Like this one. I have to be enclosed with close enclose. Quick fix. Okay, I forgot to specify the package. Okay, bear with me. Malapit na tayong matapos. Biyabiyahin na tayo. Saan tayo papatungo? Punta tayo sa bahay ni na Jeric. Jeric, can we go to your house and eat your house? Import that, and then list fruit screen. It should be fruits screen, and then we're going to import that HTTP. Now we have to require the HTTP package. How? To require that HTTP package. How do we download packages? Flutter. Flutter require ba? Pubget. Wait. Wait. We're going to work on that. Yeah, we can manually add it in the pubspec YLML, or we can have yeah, this is how we do it. In the Flutter, in the dependencies, we place here, we place there HTTP. Like that one. And then Flutter pub-get to download it. This is similar to your pip install. Failed to update packages. Why? 15 doesn't match anything. Maybe it's 13. Sir, where can we get that? Simple. You go to online. You do not know what's the latest version. You go to pub.dev. We need the HTTP. HTTP is a package that helps us request to a server. It's an alternative to that is DU. It's 1.3. It's 1.3. Okay, it's TTP 1.3. There, and then run the pub-get. You can run the pub-get, or you can just simply click this one. Click packages. And an indication that it work is you are able to import it here already. Import. If it doesn't appear, import package um that one, and also this one, it should be package app1 through the dart. Package imported package isn't a dependency of the importing package. I think it's the here. I should place this not here, but it should be in here. There. Then download it again. Let's see if it's fixed, and it's fixed already. Just like that. This one, we have to install this to a different, okay, location. We're going to create. Do you wanna go home already, children? Okay. Don't you worry. Malapit nang maubos yung oras natin. I'm just going maybe to complete this together with the create. So when you're done, sana yung list screen natin. Okay, before we proceed, JSON decode. Where did we get the JSON decode? The JSON decode is coming from JSON decode. May I see if I can quick fix? Dart convert. It's coming from the Dart convert. And avoid doing it like this. We have to create. I'm going to create a constant. Oh, not there. It should be in the lib. Right click and then new file. I'm going to name it constants or config that dart. What I'm going to add here is a constant for the link. So I'm just going to have const string API URL. And then we need to get the URL of our, in most cases, you just have to connect your phone and your server, which is your computer, on the same network and get the IP address of your computer. So which is the which will be the location of your, not just local host. Do not use local host. I have tried that, it won't work that way. I have to get my IP by opening CMD. You wanna go home already, Jerry? Jerry, gusto mo nang umuwi? Ha? Ako din, pero we need to finish this. ipconfig, you type ipconfig to get your local area network IP. This is what you look for, the IP4 address. You copy that one. Copy, that is the address. Remember, I'm talking about IP address while ago. It's the address of the server. This is the address of your computer in the local area network. And then you also have to specify the port. I think we are using 80. If you are using 80, then you don't have to add it. But if you did not configure the IP, the port rather, this is port, then you have to specify it. I think the IP is 80, so I don't have to place it there. Okay? And then I don't have to add that in here. Just like that one. Just like that one. That's the API URL. Save. Okay. What is this? It should be final. It's not changing. And you can use const anyway. I'm just going to have base API URL. And how am I going to use that in my code here? I'll go here. List. Let me close that one. We're done with that. Here. No, not that one. This one. So what I will do here is URI.parse, and then I will have to access that constant. So how to get the code here? I have to import it. Import package 1 and then config.dart as, since listen, since our config.dart has no class in it, so we have to create an alias using this one as config, like that one. And then here I'm going to replace this with config.api URL slash, what is the route for our, what is the route for our API? Lo, ayaw naman niyang ipakita. Where can we find it? Don't you worry, malapit na tayong matapos. Nawawala. This one. This. It's the slash fruits. Okay, it's slash fruits. That one. We have to make it this way. And then this should be just like that. Just like that. Lapit na tayong matapos. Hindi pala backtick yun. Okay na yung single quote. Yan. And then, yan. That's it. This will get that. And then, it's going to, okay. Wait. Tama lang naman yan. Tama lang naman to. Constructor for this. Kulang lang tayo ng cons. Yan. Yung ito. Ignore na lang natin. This is just a warning. Invalid use of private type. Guys, what is the purpose of underscore before class names and methods? They are private. Okay? You do not declare private or public, whatever. You use underscore before a class to make it a private. Okay? Ito. Anong problem niya? Expected to find semicolon. Okay. That one. Okay. There you go. Center child. Error snapshots error. Let's try this one. I think this would work already. This would work too. Let's just make gawin lang natin si create fruits na stateless. For now, but this should be a stateful widget. Kailangan lang nating i-override. Quick fix. That one. Then we also have to make this one. That one. Then the problem will go away. List dynamic is not subtype of list widget. There's an error here. List dynamic is not a subtype of. Yeah, there's something that I forgot to add in there. Let me quickly. What I will do now is instead of doing this, I'm just going to have the list fruit screen for now. And I'm just going to disable this for now. Okay. Save. I'm going to just fix that later on. Okay, never mind the on top thing there. Look at this. I think I have to hard start it. I mean, I'm going to restart it. Click that or restart. I'm going to restart it. Okay, my goal here is I'm going to list all the fruits coming from the database. And it has to appear in here. It's loading. It says here that if it's not yet the connection state, waiting, circular, final fruits with the data, list view builder, that will go forever. Let's see, there could be an error in here. Doon sa my problems. I'm just going to terminate that for now. Save. If that's causing the problem. Debug console. Yay, malapit na tayong uwi. Hindi ka pa natin natapos ito. So what I will do is, kung hindi natin ito matapos ngayon, before I will give you the video, I'll finish it, make it working. Would that be fine? Yes, sir. Gusto nyo lang umuwi. You just follow the pattern. I think pinag-aralan nyo na yung stateful. Natakal na natin yan na nakaraan. Now, our goal here now is to fetch data from the database. What we have here is, it's going to make, this is a future builder widget. It's waiting for item from a request. We have the fetch fruits. Where is this coming from? Return, center. It says here, quick fix. Just about the curly braces thing. Wala pa rin ba data? I think it cannot connect. It cannot connect to this location. I-try nga nating pumunta dito. Okay. It's because it's HTTP. That should be HTTP, not HTTPS. Restart it. We're hoping to get result from this already. Because if I'm going to visit this on my browser to test it, sure, gawin tayo. Kung nata siguro na ito eh. Fruits. Wow, it's not working. Ano bang port? Anong port na natin to si Kwan? Tingnan mo na lang dito. Yan, the port is that. We can, okay. Ayaw pa rin niya. 192.168. I think may na-delete ako dun sa IP natin kanina. Uwi na kayo? Uwi ka na? Uwi ka na? Saan kayo bibiyahe? Wait, we need to expose the ubicorn to local network. Uwi ka na? Kung mag-alala, hatid na lang kita. Okay. We need to be, the problem is ito. I need to tell you now. I need to expose my server, ubicorn, to the local area network by this one. Ubicorn, okay, app.main, which will be my app. Host, to expose it to the local area network, you have to use 0.0.0 port. You can specify the port. You can use 80 if it's available. If it's not available, then you just have to use 8000 or other, and then reload. Look at this. Okay? And then, if I'm going to refresh this, I should get a result already. And if I'm going to restart this, um, I have to restart it. I should be able to get data already and be listed here. There you go. Okay? Now, it only... Okay, I'm just going to continue the from this text field, and then it's going to go to the database. I'm just going to complete this one. I'm just going to complete it and give you the video. Okay? And thank you for